And I need a motion to approve the board workshop meeting.
So moved.
Brian?
Second.
Lisa? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7-0. Sarah? And we actually have some personnel information to do. I need a motion to approve the following instructional staff actions as recommended by the superintendent of schools. Lisa?
Second.
Brian? All in favor? Aye, 7-0. Next up, I need a motion to approve the following non-instructional and civil service staff actions as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Mary Caitlin?
Second.
Nicole? All in favor? Aye, 7-0. Which leads us to our workshop topics. And I know first off, we have NASA Hunch, so thanks for being with us today. Yay. And I'm going to hand it over to you over here. If you need, is there a microphone on the podium?
Oh, perfect.
Okay, oh, right there, perfect.
This team knows how to.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure, I just want to make sure it's up there. So I'm going to hand it over and you can get started.
We are obviously the NASA Hunch class and club, and we're here to explain to you a little bit about what that is and what this program does. So if you want to flip to the presentation.
Thank you. I was just enjoying it so much. Thank you. Here's, if you want this right here.
Yeah, sure.
I'm dry, that's big. I'm showing a lot of growth today. All
right. So NASA Hunch is a program from NASA given to high schools. It stands for High Schools United with NASA to create hardware. And so basically what that means is it's a two kind of beneficial way program. We benefit from it and NASA benefits from it. So NASA will give us a list of projects to the schools participating in it, and teams in that school can pick the projects and kind of build their engineering skills, designing a prototype that NASA will eventually judge, and for some of the projects will actually use aboard their missions from the Moon to Mars initiative. And it provides all these students with these real-world engineering skills, as well as connections to these actual NASA engineers. And so, what about Fairport and Hunch? To give a little history, Fairport's an actually special school in NASA Hunch. NASA Hunch has been a program for 23 years, and Fairport was the first school in New York to join that. We have been a part of NASA Hunch for 15 years, and every year we work on these projects providing NASA benefits, and we gain experience from that. So what is this program? Basically, these teams in NASA have to create the project, and then they will get a preliminary design review, which means they will meet with a virtual mentor from NASA to receive any critiques and potential benefits or any other insight to their project to make it better for the upcoming critical design review. That review is where the actual judging is, and it's a very cool real-life meeting with these mentors, and where they get to actually see these projects that the team built and judge them, and then if they're good or they like some of the features from it, can actually use our ideas on the next mission at the ISS or incorporate them with some of the actual NASA engineers' designs. So I'm going to pass this off to the first team and what their project is about.
Okay, so my name is Isis Waring, and I'm presenting the first project, NanoLab for Space Crop Production. And I personally am a part of this team this year. And our overall goal with this project was to create a small experimental chamber that can grow plants in space. So this project was split into 3 parts. And to tackle the first part, we decided to use a syringe pump to accurately deliver the water and deliver the water out of the chamber. And we used that for the mechanics with the Raspberry Pi to program each section of the NanoLab. So a big part of this project is sensors. So this is a pH sensor, and then also a moisture sensor was part of the requirements as well. So with that, we can accurately measure and monitor the plant's growth in the NanoLab. So a big part of the goal of this project is to be a universal nanolab in a sense. So they already had nanolabs, but this nanolab's purpose is to be able to grow any choice they have in space. So the syringe pump was a really good idea of ours because it can pump out the precise measurements of water depending on whatever plant they choose to grow. And we we had a with this project we had a lot of triumph because it was a 3-part project, so they recommended 3 groups to work on this project at once, with only 4 members of the team. But we worked really hard and we got to the CDR, and you can see us in the photo with Glenn, who was a big part of NASA Hunch, and he was really proud of like what we put together, and we got recognized a lot for our efforts with this project.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious because it says you have the limited human interaction except to change the water. So how often does a human have to change the water in the system?
It would depend on what you're growing. So like that was the whole purpose of it being a universal nanolab, so they can have less to spend for it to be like easier to manage, and with it not being manual and being like programmed to move depending on what you're trying to grow, it was just more efficient to go with the syringe pump.
You probably heard me say, I need that at my house. I know you were laughing. So, yes.
I think it would give all of our plants a better shot.
Hello, I'm Gavin LeCount. I am here to go over the lunar jumping robot. The team that is responsible for making the lunar jumping robot is not here, so I'm taking over for them. The lunar jumping robot's goal is to be on the moon and jump in order to take panoramic pictures of the moon while it's at the height of its jump or during its jump. Some ways that this team came up with a solution to design something that can actually fit the parameters is that they use these gears in a gear rack in order to pull these platforms together and then release it in order for it to jump up. The cameras would be attached on the sides, and these gears also have little notches in them that removed teeth, which allows it to slide quickly when it does come back around, which allows it to slide up and keep rotating in one direction.
So I'm Zoe Ibbotson. I was on the trash ejector team, which we actually ended up splitting into 2 separate projects. One was the airlock for it, and one was the physical trash ejector. So starting with the airlock, this is the final prototype that we ended up making. Oh, sorry. Back to the project is the trash ejector for use on a spaceship going from the moon to Mars. We have to be able to get this trash out without letting any air out. They very much like their air up there. So the way that our final prototype ends up working is you have this little chute here where you're physically going to put your trash can in, and then it's going to slide down here where your ejector goes. Once it's all lined up and your ejector is ready, you can use this handle here to push this door open and rotate it to open the outside door and eject your trash. Then you put it back, and you can open this up, reload, do whatever you need to do. Because of the way this works, the pressure actually makes it so that if this outside door is open, it is almost impossible to open this, adding another layer of safety, so you don't accidentally evacuate the air. So the other part of this project was the physical ejector. Okay. This was one of our older prototypes. It's actually our first one. Our current one is out on repairs right now. I kind of broke it while working on it, but it's getting fixed. So what we did here is we use springs to power it. Because the simplest way would just be to kind of push it out, but by adding springs, you're allowed to really manage the motion so you can control it better. So in here, on this rod, there's a spring. You can put something in here, that would be your trash, pull it back, and release, and it launches. So on our final prototype, you can see that purple thing is really just to hold the gears. You can see one of them sticking out at the end here. These are these cool spiral gears that actually twist and move at the same time. And with the addition of these, we're actually able to make our pusher rotate as it moves, which will let us give some spin to the trash and hopefully make its flight path a little straighter.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We're injecting it into space? Where is it going from there? Like, do you know
So-
what NASA's going to do then?
It would probably be ejected so that it would go into a planet or star so it can burn up. We weren't put in charge of aiming it or anything. That's NASA's job. But we probably wouldn't be just setting it out to float in space.
I'm Boston, and I'm presenting the sample container, and unfortunately the group that was working on this is not here with us right now. But the goal of this container was to collect lunar rocks and put them into a sealed container with as little contamination as possible so that we can take them back to Earth and actually study them. The team decided to solve this issue by making a container with a screw top and handles so that the astronauts can actually open it, along with a pressure valve so that when they do open the container, nothing explodes on them and they don't get like plastic shards flying at them, because that is not a very fun thing to happen. They also have latches on the side to ensure a very tight seal, and a notable feature of this is the dust collar, which will allow them to actually put the lunar samples in without compromising the seal itself. So it'll like, all the extra dust will attach to this rather than the actual screw that's underneath it.
All right. So these are the projects we have been working on this year. And I just want to say that I think NASA Hunch is a really special program because unlike most other classes in the school, it's one of the only chances you get to actually innovate and build hands-on and learn from your mistakes, get real mentorship from NASA engineers and other people outside the world of the school. So that is about it for our NASA program. We will continue to work on these projects, assuming that we do get selected to go to Houston. And I want to say thank you for coming to this presentation.
Any questions from the board?
No, thank you. I should remember.
Semester class or a year?
So when do you find out? From,
We're finding out sometime this month.
okay, excellent. Good luck, everybody. Good luck.
How much after school time do you guys?
And how many students take the class or in the classes here?
And this is a class that you can take all 3 years, right? It's something that
Yeah.
be new every year.
So personally for me, I've taken the class.
I am not the expert in this project. I'm your manager. I do not, sorry, I'm not here to tell you how to do it, and I know the overview of your project, so you have to look at me as like the engineering manager. You guys are the employees. I try to run it very much like an engineering design group. Their job is to figure the answer out and give me the answer that they come up with, so.
Do you have specific materials that you use for research, or are you kind of on your own to research, concepts, engineering, help with the problem?
Has provided us with some websites that may lead to information that we utilize in space and whatnot. But for the majority of these projects, there will be elements to which even NASA hasn't really figured out yet. And that will be up to us to research on our own and try and create a solution to those.
What would you say are like the biggest takeaways with, not your failures, but like you're working on something and it just doesn't work out? Like, how does that help you moving forward, having those learning experiences where, gosh, this really didn't work out, what can we do next? Can you speak to that?
You have to learn how to adapt and just change. If something doesn't work out, like you may try something very similar, but that's something new. And we see probably won't work either. Why don't we try step H? Why don't we move on to this new material? Why don't we try and find something else that might work?
And I think what makes that adapting so effective is that we all have like a big passion for the subject as well. So it kind of helps to you really want to solve this, so you go through the extra lengths to figure it out.
Do you have prerequisite courses that you have to take first so that you know how to 3D print and know how to do all this cool engineering?
You know?
Just learn it all there.
It's part of the thing that you have to learn when you join the class.
If you need to know something, you learn it.
It's probably more motivating, I guess, to learn it when it's an
Yeah,
application.
I take that on as my job. Gavin, when he first came, wanted to solder circuits, and I said, okay, I will show you how to solder.
And then everything after that.
And then he went on, and YouTube is a great teacher as well. Use that. If I don't know it, I'm like, well, there's got to be a YouTube video.
Got to be a YouTube video, a guide online. There may even be a book.
My only prerequisite is that they're willing to work independently and really, really try. That's like the two big things. That's why we've always opened it for sophomores to seniors, and with the freshmen coming in, I'm excited to see if any freshmen are willing to take it on and try.
But it's not just the ability to work individually, but collaboratively, and not just on a project that lasts 2 weeks, that lasts for months, right? This is a new experience, right? Have you guys ever worked on a project together with other people for this long? Yeah, right.
Well,
Not until.
wow.
So that's an interesting new challenge, I think, for all of them.
Seems like the ultimate enrichment opportunity,
Yeah.
really, in multidisciplinary, all the disciplines are represented, so, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I tap many colleagues with, like, especially for computer programming. I don't know, I think we have some computer science teachers that may understand that better than I do.
No problem.
Bring in the team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'll have to keep us updated,
We will.
what you find out in the next month. Houston, did you guys go last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I knew it was in recent. Well, good luck.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you for
Great job.
sharing.
Nice.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
I love her. The slippers are amazing. Oh, goodness. Are you good?
So let's do this.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah. So up next, we get to hear from our art tech directors and everybody else who came to join, which is wonderful. We do, and
The internet comes back to us.
is it
No, I've got to somehow get this to talk to that.
okay?
Tony?
Can we get the kids back in here to fix
Just
that?
they left too quick.
Thanks for your patience while we try to get this going again.
I hope so.
Do you want to use my computer?
We can
until I
follow
get this,
along.
and then
Yeah,
we'll
we
follow
can
along.
definitely
I have
follow
a computer.
Yeah,
Right here.
Oh, wait.
fine, I guess. If that's,
Here.
Is it just board docs isn't working?
It's my board doc. This board doc's here. Just
Here, let me
Just left
email
us.
this to you real quick because you were just in your email.
I have this right here. I mine. What's that?
Just open up Board Docs
I-
over here. I know it crashed, but maybe it'll come back. I know. That's the one that.
Well, he
didn't
just had his email open, so I shared the link for the presentation.
So here's this right here.
Just click your email back open. I just shared it again.
Right here on this here.
Yep.
Everyone close their eyes.
There you go.
I know.
There you go.
That works. MC, way to go.
If there's anything I know, it's how to.
everybody's on.
We're ready. You see all of our bubbles.
Oh, our bubbles are all there.
Can you dance and sing?
Well, I should have brought my
Tony, Tony, can we use
hard copy. I was being sustainable and not.
This is not, this one, this is not that. So this one right here, this is mine. So what do you do?
And Stacy, if you want,
You all
I
can
could-
see it.
yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, here we go. We're up. We're up. But you know what? I'll keep that just in case, so that I know we're on a tight timeline. So
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
Go. Everybody. touch it.
All right. You have the clicker. Where's the clicker? All right. Thank you so much for having us. I know I came earlier and did some math and science and testing. I'm so excited to be here again. Stacy Miller, Director of Math, Science, Tech, and Art for the district, with our very talented art team and tech team. So they are here to share with you all some of the major work that we've been doing this year that you may or may not know about, but obviously the stuff that you have supported all throughout the year. So some of our major updates is we added AP Art, and I'll let the team introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their slides when we get there. So, but our major initiatives this year, we added AP Art, which is very exciting. We have also adopted a resource. So much like the other content areas, art adopted new standards recently, the visual arts standards. We've been working really hard to look at those pre-K through 12 to see that evolution of what an artist should be able to do. And this team has been extremely innovative and always looking for ways to continue to improve themselves as professionals and also provide new opportunities for kids in art class. So the Art of Education resource, can't say enough. I think it has been the most amazing resource professionally, to grow professionally as an artist yourselves, and also how to bring that to your classroom. And it's also aligned to all of the new standards. So that's really exciting. And we had some retirements last year, but we have 3 amazing new art teachers in our elementary schools. We have Nicole Rowley, who is over at Brooks Hill. So you'll probably see her if you come to the art show. You'll see her around and some new faces. Holly Maxwell at JA, and then Danielle Ruggiero Melcher at JA as well. They're a fantastic group, and they having this resource too, with them coming on to a brand new buildings and environment. It's been a really great place for them to kind of continue to have something, because they're the sole art teachers at each of those rooms, so, or each of those buildings.
Stacey, is that specific to New York State, or is it the curriculum?
The curriculum is, there is a national curriculum, but there is a New York State specific visual arts standards, just like all the others.
You can search for the state standards in your state.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
My sister-in-law is an art teacher.
Oh.
Great resource.
I think they would highly recommend. It's beautiful to see the connections, and when we were kind of talking about the art and tech, and when we see our NASA Hunch team, it's all kind of connected to that new version of what is the Portrait of a Graduate from New York State. I know you guys had already learned a little bit about that previously, but there's a lot of connections to that critical thinking, the creation, the communication, the different ways of our students and what we want them to be well-versed at as they go through our programs. One of the other big things that we added this year is we applied for New York State's art pathway. And so we obviously have that. And what we did when we created it, the team all helped to develop it, we kind of put it into strands. So we have the digital arts pathway, we have the 3D arts pathway, and the 2D arts pathway. And then we have an advanced art pathway. The art pathways have kind of been there before, but what's new about the IIAP, it allows you to do 3 credits of art and a portfolio instead of the other arts pathway, which you had to get 5 credits of art to be able to get that extra waiver for one of your Regents exams. So it is really nice because it gives them a little bit more of a truncated way to kind of specialize. And we believe that's the new way for our New York State Regents will be kind of headed in that direction. So I'm going to turn it over to the team though, because the rest is about them. And so please feel free to introduce yourselves. I think we're going to start with Alyssa.
All right, thank you for inviting us. So Alyssa Dichik, I teach up at the high school. I'm teaching AP this year. I teach the graphic design, 3D art, and photography. this year. So this is just a sample from one of our students that's doing the pathways. We decided that we needed a uniform way to track all of the kids that are doing this. And the students that are involved in the pathway that have to do the portfolio need a place to be able to collect their work. So we created a Google Classroom and put each year that they have to have on there, so they can continually upload pictures, write their reflections, because at the end of this year, they're going to be meeting with us, the art teachers, as a panel that are going to go through the work that they've completed. So following that red sheet that was on there before. But this is one example that a student had uploaded their work that they did in graphic design. And then they have questions on there that they have to answer about, what the project was, how they would rate their success, what are they most proud of, what was the most challenging part of the unit. So it really kind of encourages them to reflect during the year while they're working on those projects, so that by the end, if they took a class sophomore year, they're not sitting there kind of like, I forgot what I did. I don't even remember what the prompts were or what the project was. So it's a really good way for us to collect work and for the kids to kind of keep them in check in terms of keeping them on the path that they've chosen. So that's the next slide. Yep. So AP Drawing is brand new this year. We have a nice group of students that, we have about 7 students in that class. Thank you. What the students are doing is they have to pick a sustained investigation that they are going to study, and all of their artwork kind of surrounds whatever that theme is that they're doing. They're independent, and they're kind of driving their own work. So I'm there to kind of help, keep them on track, because a lot of these kids, it's really hard for them to meet a deadline for art under pressure where they have to produce so many pieces of work. So the student on the left is exploring how travel has shaped them and their personality over time. So that's just one of the examples. She's diving into the water, and she was going to Paris and London in the bubble, and then the mask, I don't know if you guys can see, has all the flags of the countries that she's been to. So it's kind of like looking into the future, looking into the past, and this is like one of her journeys where this was a photo she actually took on vacation that she was using, and kind of using her imagination to do that. I have another student who is exploring their adoption and their ties and their identity and who they are, and tying together their Colombian heritage with their American upbringing, and just kind of figuring out who they are. And it's just amazing to see the journey that these kids are exploring, and how they're really learning how to investigate, and how to, they're recording all this stuff in a journal, and reflecting on the work that they're doing. They're talking about, they have to write everything down. And in fact, the actual exam, they're submitting 15 slides that are from their sustained investigation from the notebooks, and then they're going to be submitting final slides of 5 of the pieces of the artwork that they complete. And what's interesting, and this is where our kids are starting to learn how important it is, 60% of the exam is based on the sustained investigation and their ability to reflect, practice their artwork, do their sketches, talk about their thought process, document resources and stuff like that. So, yes, yeah, some of them do. So, I mean, it's interesting because we have 2 that want to be art teachers, a couple more that are interested in the fine arts, but they're not sure what exactly, where they're headed for that. Some that are 2 are architecture majors as well. So it's really it's a good mix of kids. Am I hitting that? And here's another example of some of the work. The one on the left is exploring their gender expectations and how they felt about that, and actually went and visited the copy machine, and then did some reference photos that way, and then put them together and collage them together to come up with that. And then we have another student who is looking at how things age over time. And that's just an example of one of their sustained investigation books, the pages. So that would be like a sample page that would get scanned and entered in, and then they have writing prompts on the AP website that they have to answer. And they have to learn how to be very concise and direct with their language, which is kind of something that they're learning. They're slowly learning because it's different from their English classes and the creative writing that they're taking. And so this is, I actually created a slideshow for them that kind of mimicked what it looks like on the AP upload. And so the prompts that they have, you know, height, width, materials, what process they did, and the explanation of what the work is about. So, do you have any questions at all on that? And here's another one. This is one of the other students who is looking at exploring glass and how it represents, how it's been represented. So like in this case, it's a reflection of beauty and a kaleidoscope and bringing parts together to portray, let's see, she said, emotions being portrayed are the loss of identity and disillusionment. So the kaleidoscope is what is mixing all of that up. And then we have an upcoming show. This is the Through the Student Lens that's at Image City. That is opening on March 27th. We will not be having or actually the gallery's not actually having an official opening until the following weekend. I think it's gonna be around the 10th because we're on break when it opens, and then people are coming back from break the following week. So we will have a date announced for that, but there are 10 students that are representing Fairport. And this year we put it out on our social media for kids, inviting all the kids to submit photos. We collected all of those pictures and I put it up on a Padlet and sent the Padlet out for teachers to like 5 of their favorite pieces. And then between the Padlet and then we had another faculty panel too that like photography teachers and other teachers that picked all of our final selections. So it's a really nice variety, and I'm happy that a lot more kids were able to participate than just the ones in our photo classes. So, yeah. And in January, we had the RIT hosted the annual Start Here exhibit, and we are going to be presenting that work to you guys, I think, in April. But we do have some pictures from that show. So just of all our student artists, and we go to the opening, and it's a great opening to go to. They have a huge spread of food, and they have an award ceremony.
May recognize someone in the photo.
My sister.
And great work. And then we had 2 students that earned awards from the schools. Yes, so we had, you want to talk about Ezra's real quick?
Oh, yeah, so we had Ezra, he's in 8th grade. He had no desire to be in art class, I heard, and then now he can't get enough of it. So he won for the 8th grade award, first time going to RIT or being selected. And this is his second octopus. His first one blew up in the kiln. It's a process that happens where you put it in the kiln and you fire it and then it turns into glass. And then he was determined to make it, so then he made this one in 48 hours. And he was able to win.
Good, yeah. Ethan Torres submitted one of his photos, and he actually they only gave out 5 scholarships? Mm-hmm. And he was granted one of those scholarships, so now he's really seriously thinking about going there, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a good incentive. Oh, and this is more pictures. Here they are up close. And then we have our...
Yeah, so this is just some of the artwork that our elementary kids have been up to, and you'll see much more of that at our beautiful show coming up. Mm-hmm. But just wanted to make sure we captured our elementary. They took the time to submit these and put that in our slideshow. So And then we've got our middle school team here.
Oh, yeah. So these are some photos from our middle school, particularly at JP. So I'm Christy Germano. I'm one of the art teachers at Joanna Perrin. The picture located on the left is a sixth grade class that I have working on watercolors, amazing group of students. My eighth graders were working on a clay unit, so they get to use technology and machinery. They're using a slab roller up there on the right-hand side to roll out slabs of clay, and we're building cakes, different types of cakes and different types of food. So the display that you see there on the bottom right, that's the very top layer, it was a kind of a combined unit where we did a two-dimensional piece of artwork and then a three-dimensional piece of artwork to match. So they had to develop a recipe and create a recipe card with ingredients and steps to create the recipe. And then they had the sculptural unit where they created that look of the recipe, whatever it was that they were making.
Okay. All right, you want to go there? So I'm Daniqua Belcher. I'm at both middle schools, JP and Martha Brown. JP in the morning, Martha Brown in the afternoon. I've tried a little something different this year. So sixth grade have Spark Labs, and they also are integrated into art at least once a week. So hands-on is definitely key for them this year. We tried to look at art as not just why am I here, it's just art, but how is it utilized in the world, and how can we convey that into the middle school as well as what they would get into at the high school, because we have architecture, the technology, and everything that's hands-on. So we started with architecture. Well, we didn't start, we ended with architecture. And this is in progress kind of pictures. The first thing they had to do is sketch it, and then they had to sculpt these monuments down into basic shapes to learn how it's put together. And then from the basic shapes, they were able to do measurements. And then from measurements, they were able to figure out how much cardboard they need and how they're gonna cut it out. Everything was X-Acto knives. Everybody thought that I was brave for giving sixth grade knives, and I was like, we're going with it. Even the parents like, I would have lost my mind. But I was like, I trust them. We establish a class that they feel comfortable to try new things and things that may be hard. So these are some of the pictures. I don't have the finished product, but there is finished product. So this is some of the student feedback. They didn't trust the process. That's our biggest thing in the class. So some of them was like, this doesn't look like what it's supposed to, but I'm gonna go with it. And they have seen it through the end, and they are very proud with their work. So that's what sixth grade doing. They're also integrating AI because we're on the AI pilot. So we're learning how to render images through AI to create ways of what they want to think about their artwork, to learn identity, which will be fed into the high school because they have to figure out how they're going to be an artist if they decide to take a high school class. So we rendered their images through AI to give it personality. There's a artist called Lucia Heffernan, and she paints human characteristics on animals. So our focus is animal, but they got to choose their style and identity of how they wanted to portray the animal. And then there's Fauvism, which is art with color. And we tied that into science, actually, to understand that these colors also show up in weather, how the weather is tracked. The warmer colors are where the hotter storms are, and the cooler colors is where it seems to be a little bit died down. And then photorealism, which is like not Pablo Picasso, which is Vincent van Gogh and all of those other artists that focus on making it look like the picture. Then they learned how to break it down into basic shapes to then learn how to draw it as a form. And all of this was done in paint. I don't have finished artwork on purpose because I want you to come to the art show. But it's really good, actually. I was impressed. So they love that they got to use AI to render a photo, so they kept wanting to do that. But a lot of the kids moved towards like photorealism or the different colors, it was really nice to open it up that way for the sixth grade. And we talked about symbolism, color theory, where art is in not only just drawing and painting, but photography and real life world. So tying those connections again. And then our 8th grade, we were ambitious this year. We are cutting actual glass. It is a 3D unit, so 8th grade only gets 10 weeks of art. So we have 3 weeks to finish glass cutting. And they felt empowered. They couldn't understand how we were breaking stuff that was delicate to actually make finished artwork. And it was a successful unit. This is my first year doing it. The 8th graders were up for the challenge, and they also took it very serious to keep themselves safe, as well as learn the new processes and challenge what I was challenging them to do. So how do you know this is going to work? And I was able to be vulnerable with them to tell them that I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. And then they were able to be like, all right, we're going to prove that it's going to work. So I like that group. We will see that this is not finished. We're actually finishing up tomorrow. So you'll get to see that also at the art show. And then they did other things, but I thought it was important to talk about how I'm running the art class. I'm doing it with big ideas. So big ideas is thinking of a concept versus me giving you something and say everybody's going to draw a fruit. And everybody's going to learn how to draw that fruit, but thinking of it more as how could we think of what connects everybody as a human. So advocacy is one of our concepts. What does advocacy look like for you? How are you advocating? What does it look like in your artwork to advocate for something? So giving them a little bit more freedom. To the ones who are making the decisions are the ones who are doing the learning. And they get to choose their medium. So they get to explore it first, and then we learn technique versus me giving them the medium and say everybody has to do watercolor. So everybody gets to choose what they're comfortable with, and we build on that versus just telling them. That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, stay here though, because
All
this
right.
project,
Oh, yeah.
this is a project that Daniqua and I both did at JP and at Martha Brown. So we did a stop motion animation project, which was a lot of fun, where we were able to integrate technology into our classrooms. So students were able to use iPads, use the stop motion animation app on the iPads, and create their own films. So we talked about creating a story, creating conflict resolution for their stories. They got to build props out of paper, cardboard, whatever. And then some kids worked in teams, so they had to collaborate with their project. Some students wanted to work individually, which is fine too. But they were able to create these films. We did a lot of film history too, which was a lot of fun to kind of go that avenue with art as well. And then they were able to edit their videos in Canva. So then that way they could add sound or music, which was also a lot of fun. So this was a really great project to kind of integrate film into art as well. Anything else you want to add?
No. Look, I'm trying to think. Yeah, you summed it up. No.
I think the biggest thing that we're seeing, and I'm just going to tie it in because it's obviously going to connect to Spark and our tech programming, is that I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with all of these disciplines, and how interwoven the work that we do is in each of our core areas. And so I am so fortunate that we have such a wonderful small team of art and tech, but they are mighty. And we have been doing a lot to talk vertically to I hope you can kind of see it in their work and how it is growing and evolving, just like we have our Spark programming, is that introduce, then to really kind of filter into, okay, I'm finding my interests, and then that final pathway of here's where I want to go. And that is not just in Spark, but that's happening in art as well. And this team has been phenomenal. They put in so many hours in the classroom and outside of the classroom, and their work obviously is on display everywhere, but kids are doing so well. I'm just very proud of the team.
No, thank you. And I know thank you. And we have our invitations. I think it's on the calendar for the art show.
That was our last slide.
So we are
So we invite everybody to come to our art show. It will be April 9th, 4 to 6 is our opening. So we'd love to have you all there.
Yeah.
We'll also have live music.
Oh, yes, live music.
Yes. So what a gift you give our community by organizing this. I can't imagine the workload it takes to organize this art show, but not even just like parents who are excited to see their own kids work. My mom's at the rec center, and like all the people she plays cards with get excited because they know it's coming and they can go visit.
It's very unique to our district, and that's something to celebrate for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support of the arts.
Thank you guys. All right, so without further ado, I will bring up the tech team. Obviously, not everybody could be here tonight, but we have been doing a lot of work. As you know, we've talked to you a little bit about some of the big visions that we have as we go in, and we have this beautiful new STEAM wing that is moving along very nicely, so that's exciting. I have two incredible team members with me. Travis Wood, obviously you guys know, and
I'm Connor Dickman. I'm a new 7th grade. Sorry, we're socially awkward, right? In the most level. I am the new 7th grade technology teacher. I took over for the legendary Mike Ramsey over at Martha Brown.
yes, and he has been a wonderful addition. We're grateful to have him, as well as the rest of our team. So you guys are very aware of this whole process. Kind of just talked about how that's happening in art as well. Major updates. We were approved by New York State to continue our CTE programming. So we are continuing to provide those opportunities for endorsements for students who have pathway interests in architecture, engineering, business, and marketing. So that is wonderful. And again, aligned to a lot of the work that you hear from NASA Hunch, all these opportunities for kids really kind of comes full circle in our comprehensive Fairport programming. And so, of course, apparently we're gonna do line by line. We are not doing line by line. So major things that we have this year, we increased our fleet of 3D printers. We have received a major grant, $23,000 actually from Bosch, to add more robotics kits. We'll talk about that in a minute, but drones, and then obviously we're continuing to meet regularly. We just had a meeting today with Labella and campus about our STEAM wing and what's going to go in there. So we're feeling really excited about all the things that are to come for our students. Programming, again, we're continuing to do that alignment, making sure we're looking to see holistically how we're developing that interest and those experiences as kids go through our programming K-12. Courses, updating, that's what we're going to talk about today. Some major updates, some things that this new team, we do have a lot of new tech teachers, have really worked hard to bring to life some of the courses that we have at the middle school, again, continuing that development, and then the high school as well. And then some major things this year, we have made great connections with MCC Optics. We're continuing to partner with the outside organizations and really making sure that we are keeping current with what's going on with the community, teams and tech around us. And then obviously recruiting and retaining amazing staff. We've got, upcoming 3 new tech teachers, and we're very excited about our programs. So we'll start with, go ahead, Connor, you tell us all about middle school.
Yeah, so I'm Connor. I took over for, like I said, Mike Ramsey, who was an icon in the technology world for sure. So for us at the middle school level, myself and Jared Boucher over at Martha Brown, and then Carrie and Joe over at JP, all 4 of us have kind of worked together and created this kind of story of old and new. We've kept a lot of stuff the same. We've implemented some new things, as Travis has done some great work down at the Spark level. And then we've implemented some brand new things that I've brought in from other districts where I've worked, things that Jared has started doing over the last 4 or 5 years that he's been with us. So some of the old projects, the iconic duck project, I know that you've probably seen them wandering through the buildings. Some of you may even remember seeing them wandering around. So this is a picture of my period 2 students having just successfully completed their duck project. It's the most fantastic email in my entire career that I get to send out every time that I release all of the ducks all at once. And I say, hey, by the way, there's going to be about 160 of them wandering through the hallway. So congratulations, good luck. It's a fun time. Over at the 8th grade level, we're keeping a lot of the woodworking sort of things. We're keeping clock projects. We're keeping the candy machines. We still do the awesome CO2 dragster project. The kids really love the hands-on project-based learning that we do at this level. We like to integrate in a lot of stuff that they are doing over in the art department as well. We're doing a lot of drawing and sketching on the architecture side. We've introduced a lot more SolidWorks and CAD at the middle school level, so we're introducing that at a basic level, and then we're doing some Arduino coding, teaching basic programming skills, drag and drop block coding, gaming, that sort of thing. We teach the students how to create a robot that will play rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and they can go against each other in the classroom setting. The newer stuff that's new to us, there's some new things that I've kind of brought in that we've worked together with the two middle schools to kind of start doing. One of them is the PSA video project. Uses Google Vids as the standard editing software. And what allows the students to do is to investigate a project, a topic that we've actually gone in and chatted with the health department, the health teachers here, to figure out what things they're teaching at the 7th and 8th grade level that we can reinforce in the technology field. And what they can do is create these 90-second to 2-minute long videos that allow them to create their own content on these really hard-hitting topics that are really important for students. Right now, we're like elbows deep in the board game project, which is one of my favorite projects. If you had a chance to check out the Bright Spot video, we were sponsored or featured, excuse me, over at Martha Brown on that. It's a really cool project. Jared and I sat down one day and we were like, what can we do that's new? The board games are really fun. It kind of implements the art techniques that they're learning in 6th and 8th grade. It brings in the 3D printing and the CAD working. We bring in the AI. We were talking about AI pilots. Where they use AI to help them plan out and work through the process of building rule books. It's a lot to undertake as a 7th grader. The conceptual notion of moving from I have nothing in front of me to a fully functional board game. There's a lot of steps involved, and so the AI models have helped with obviously direction from instructional staff to create that step-by-step instruction of how can we help students through the process without just giving them the answer. And then we, in the spirit of the AP classes that they were just talking about, we have, in 7th and 8th grade technology, started doing a final digital portfolio. And there's some photos on the next slide of some of the newer and different things that we're doing. You can see the board game project. You may actually even recognize the board game project in the top left-hand corner from one of the students. There's some fantastic ones. Some of my students play all of my students play video games. And there's a very popular mobile app game that they have actually formulated into their own board game on the bottom. But the final portfolio presentation is a lot, right? It's the first time that the 7th graders have kind of undertaken a big 25-slide presentation. And we do the same thing that they do in the AP program at the 7th grade level. Every time we finish a project, we take a day to take photos and answer our reflection questions and update that slideshow. And then at the end, they have a documented evidence of the fantastic work that they've done over the entire 20 weeks that we've had them. We've also some images from the planning process of the video, the PSA video, and a screenshot of the work that they're doing there. Looking into the future, Travis will talk more about the actual Bosch grant and what we've specifically gotten. We are so excited for the new introduction of Sphero and Vex Robotics, having the ability to do more hands-on coding and robotics builds at this level. We're continuing to incorporate technical drawing and CAD, updating that, which is an industry standard for almost every profession that uses drawing. And then the approval grant funding for the drones, which the kids are over the moon for the opportunity to play with some drones, learn how to fly them, learn how to code them, and that sort of stuff.
Can I ask, what's it like? So you said you've worked in other districts. So we have our kiddos now are coming up with a few years of Spark. Like it's not even new for them. What's it like bringing them into now this environment and they have that background? They know what a code is.
Yeah, so it's Travis and I were just talking about it not too far back. It's fascinating to see the I call them the aha moment, right? Of the time when you put it in front of them and all of a sudden they go, oh, wait a minute. So that's why I learned that. That's why we spent time in Tinkercad is, oh, I want this very specific 3D item for my board game and I can't find it online. I don't have to freak myself out. I can just sit down and build a simple model of it. And I've had many students do it where they wanted an elf. Couldn't find the cartoon elf that they wanted for their board game, and they were able to sit down and sit at Tinkercad and piece together a model of an elf for their game, right? And so it's cool having coming from another district. This is the only one that I see that's doing the work at the elementary level that we are, which is really fantastic. Awesome. Travis? Or the Bright Spot video.
We're not going to show the bright spot. You highlighted it and said it, so that's good.
Perfect.
We weren't going to play it, don't worry. I think one of the big things too, like you heard the kids that are in NASA Hunch right now and they're learning how to do certain things. Well, now you can hopefully see like how the build between the two programs, Art, Spark, how that build is just building kids' capacity to be able to solve problems later on with some like knowledge, base knowledge. So it's very exciting to see. Big changes this year. You want to talk about DDP? You want to talk about?
You spend a
Okay.
little bit more time with Sam.
So DDP kind of refresh, and so we've had some new units. We've got a little bit more hands-on interaction. Sam Allen is actually running a lot of the sections over at Minerva. I don't know if any of you have kids that are in 9th grade that have done DDP with Sam. He is fantastic hire and has really kind of done a nice job to kind of reboot and reimagine, making it more hands-on, interactive. Kids are doing, building, solving, designing, all of those pieces. So we're really excited that he's a part of our team. Couldn't be here tonight, but our DDP program is thriving and doing a great job of being responsive. They're gonna float their boxes that they designed. Yeah, to see whose design process is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one person.
Yeah, they gotta go from one end of the pool to the other. It's actually quite fun to watch. Yes. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Travis wants to share another project.
I saw the coolest thing that I've seen. I've been in and out over there recently. And the coolest thing that I saw them do recently is in the DDP classes, they've got the pegboards in their classroom where you would typically hang your tools. So what Sam and the guys had done with that is they gave each small group a tool, a T-square or a caliper or whatever, and the students had to design the hook that goes onto the pegboard. And then they mocked them all up, they tested them all out, they mocked them all up, they 3D printed them, and then they did like a design review. It was really awesome. And they're actually going to bring the good ones, the ones that went awesome, are actually going to come over to the new space as the holders for all the tools that are going to go into the space. I thought that would just
that relates. So someday when your kids' art supplies break you, you buy an IKEA pegboard and you start 3D printing for all their markers.
It was really coal to see what they did with that.
Yeah. And here's just an example of more design and drawing that you can kind of hear starting with, right? Spark going to middle school, and now how they do it in high school. Small gas engines, again, still thriving, and a lot of kids are enrolled in that course. And in woodworking tech, they've created a new project where it is, can you guess it? Well, it says it on there. Phone stand. So you can put the charger, you put your phone there, you put the charger through the bottom, but it's custom and it's designed using the CNC router. So very exciting tech pieces. So here's some other projects. And again, the theme of this is just really new ideas, new fresh ideas, innovation with the new technology, with the new machines, making sure that we're really keeping relevant, and then always kind of continuing to look K-12. So Travis has got some updates as well for what's going on in Spark.
So I think what the coolest part of what you've seen tonight is just like how like the entire pathway that we've talked about for the last 2 or 3 years has really come together. The stop motion and art, I heard about that about a week and a half ago, and I was like, that is the coolest. And then you guys brought in the architecture with the nod to Spark Lab, and I think what you guys have afforded us in supporting Spark Lab and our roles and kind of the trust to develop, you can start to see those wheels turning. Gavin LeCount, who was here with the NASA Hunch Club, was one of the first kids through the old hack lab at Northside School when it was just at Northside. So you can start to see like how that's really starting to permeate and grow through the district. So we've talked a lot in the last year or so about K-12 pathways. We've talked about computer science and computer-aided design. So I just want to provide just a super brief update with kind of where we're kind of going with this right now. So our students have been coding for, since Spark Lab's been open. So we've got students that have really special skills for young kids. I've just had about 6 weeks over at JA, and I had the pleasure of spending time with kids to develop these games. So our fourth graders are designing in Scratch. They're designing maze games. So essentially think Pac-Man. Ours don't quite have the little things that they're eating and the ghosts chasing them just yet. Yet's the big word for that one. But our students are designing maze games in fourth grade. And in fifth grade, they're designing what we're calling drop games. So if you think Tetris without like all the spinning shapes that fit together. So the idea with this is that our students are using if-then statements to design how they want their game to come to life. So we build some background knowledge with how to write an if-then statement. We build a little bit of awareness in space, change X, change Y coordinates. But once we get really going, we turn the game over to the kids and we ask them to become designers and we'll often like, what should I do with the game? And I'll turn around like, who's the game designer? And they'll often say themselves. And it's like, you designed the game. So we've got some pretty funky themes going on here. This one's apples getting caught in a basket. You can see the code there. It's fairly complicated for fifth grade codes there. Once we start writing variables and kids are starting to change variables, they can really go to town. There was a fourth grader who did the maze game. I don't have a picture of it. I wish I did. But he had developed the maze game. So essentially you're navigating around the purple and the space was too small to get through. And I was starting the problem like, that's going to be a little tight for that character. He's like, no, hit the S button. So I hit the S button and the character shrunk to sneak through there. And I was like, all right, you win. So essentially what they were doing with that is then creating more complicated boards. And if they have the key, if they can figure out to get from board 1 to board 2, we had kids that were building like 5 board games and it was quite impressive. So that's to give a picture of the computer science pathway. You hear Connor talking about the Arduino and the microbits that we have. That then translates into the microbits and the drones and the robotics. So now we're also coding in 3-dimensional spaces instead of just on screens. I was really happy to share this part with you guys too. Our computer-aided design is really coming together starting at kindergarten. Our kids are doing a little bit of drawing on their iPads. They're not doing really graphic design type things, but they're understanding that they can represent digitally. They're using a couple of different apps just to draw and to represent shapes. As they progress towards second grade, they're starting to lay out spaces and redesign the Spark Lab with shapes. And then as they now get to third grade, we do get into a 3D computer-aided design tool, Tinkercad, and they invent these robots, and essentially they have to build a robot to do a job that they don't want to do. And then you can see here. And what we're after in third grade is for our students to understand navigating a 3-dimensional space, building on a base plate, getting things to connect. Because then in fourth and fifth grade this year, what we're doing is we're actually 3D printing. So all of our fourth and fifth graders will be creating, designing bookmarks, and each of those bookmarks will be printed for all the kids. So we're right in the process of this right now. So if you happen to be navigating around Spark Labs at that with the school, but just not Dudley, you'll see the students in there that they're designing bookmarks. So it's really cool to see all the stuff coming together after all the years of your support with us for us. So we're really proud of what's coming, what we're doing. And that's that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Questions?
And
yeah, fancy.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it okay if we do have questions that pop up later, if maybe
of course.
folks
I know you got to get on this
filter
stuff.
them to me?
Yeah. We will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
This was fascinating
Yes.
to see the NASA Hunch and then through
Yeah.
the art program, through the tech program and all.
Can I do one more drop? Spark Night.
Yes.
April 13th,
Yes.
383 confirmed people coming, and we've got about 42 stations.
That's awesome.
The presenters are are really coming out this year. It's gonna be great.
And I have lots of boxes for you.
Yes, we're saving the cereal boxes for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hope it stopped raining out there.
What a lead into the instructional budget.
Yes.
So this is still not loading, but that's okay.
Do you want
don't
mine?
need- I got mine over
Okay.
here, this one.
So yeah, now
So we just won't be up here on the screen, friends, just because the Board docs is not loading up there.
Thank
All right,
you.
great
Yeah.
job. Thank you so much, team. So yeah, I think it's very appropriate that we are having a conversation about our draft instructional budget. And I know that the board received notes on this over the weekend. Again, this will be the beginning of a conversation that we speak to over the next several weeks. I believe on March 17th, the actual instructional budget in draft form will continue to be shared more formally, and the revenue piece will be on that day as well. So that's on March 17th. But this is an initial conversation. Jeremy's going to review components of the memo that we shared this weekend. You're going to jump up there. All right.
How do I follow that? Talking about art, architecture, tech, and now budget.
And we gotta pay for that, so you gotta
Yeah,
tell
I
me
got-
how we make that happen.
I got spreadsheets. Let's go. So, I'm not going to go line by line, but if you have questions, please stop me, ask me. The budget is ever evolving. It has evolved since this printout has come. The budget process started with me in my home in September doing the salary budget for instructional, and it will not stop probably right up until the March 17th deadline, and then it will continue again through April 21st when the board adopts a superintendent recommended budget. So the memo that you have in front of you talks about some of the different areas and overall growth in the instructional budget. Now, when you think of instructional, you'll hear the three-part budget come up. Three parts: your instructional, your capital, and your admin. This is not instructional in terms of that, because what that includes is your health insurance expense for instructional people is part of the instructional three-part budget, but health insurance is not part of this. This is just your 2,000 instructional codes. So I'll point out some highlights here. Director of Athletics, you'll see a 5.84% increase there. That's just due to clerical. I'm putting an hour requirement for the part-time person in the athletics office. And again, we're still tweaking that, but instead of saying here's a dollar amount, here's an hour requirement that I'm putting in.
And I think one thing you're, again, going to continue to see as Jeremy transitions from Matt's budget process, a different approach, and it's really cool to see because it helps us all understand what's happening, and there's lots of code adjustments, so he'll continue to read.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support and the patience. Every business official does things a little bit differently. I'm trying to match things a little bit more towards the staffing charts conducted by HR, but absolutely. So
sorry, really quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I noticed a lot of the big changes are shifting the codes. Is this kind of like more like a one-time thing, this many adjustments, and then going forward it'll, okay.
Yeah, the hope is once this is set, and I'm trying to do it all in 1 year because to understand budgets, you need consistency.
Yeah.
So once that change has occurred, then going forward, it should, if there's an increase, why? And it'll point out a little bit more and step out
But
a
you'd
little
also
bit
have to
more.
recognize he's ambitious. He wants to do it in 1 year. And you remember, like up until like a year ago, we were always shifting, and I think we grow with it too. So I don't want to hold you to one shot here, but
I appreciate that. It is a lot. We have a lot of budget codes. We do have $165+ million budget, but to fully understand it, I feel like you really do need to go through each code individually, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Is some of those adjustments is really looking at the individual codes, looking at what we've spent in the past, and trying to forecast that. So the Director of Special Education, you're going to see a big increase there of 25.81%. What that is federal salaries. So again, the budget's ever changing, and this is not the final draft. So what I did was, we usually take some of the salaries out that's recoded to the federal grants. That is not part of this budget. So don't be alarmed. This is going to change. It's going to change a lot. It probably has already changed from the time I printed this out. But this is just a first step, so I know exactly what we have in those federal grants. The Director of Student Services, this is a reassignment of a staff member due to the consolidation going over with Student Services. So it's just increasing that code, but it's decreasing another code. Supervision, you'll see a big decrease there, and that is due to the summer school for the centuries. I just recoded that to a different code, but we do not have summer school this year, so that's something that we're also looking at to see, can we decrease that? Teaching regular school, the 2110 code, 8.08% increase. One of the big increases there is the substitute budget. So our substitutes were actually, we were budgeting about 1.2, but we were spending about 1.6 2 years ago, 1.7 last year. So that's just, again, through the uncovering process of going through every budget line, I'm saying, hey, let's bump that more up to actuals. In addition, what I did was we have the, I was talking to Superintendent Provenzano today, we have the 2199 code. When we're analyzing our textbook, some principals had it in the 2199, some principals had it in the 2110. This is trying to make it streamlined and a little bit more easier to follow because it is an aidable purchase. So we want to make sure we're maximizing those funds. So some of this increase is attributable to moving textbook funds from the 2199 to the 2110. Yep.
Jeremy, just sorry, I just want to make sure this gets, just one quick question on the, on 2110, the increased the UPK costs exceeding the grant allocation. On the notes here, 285,000, can you just, what those costs are?
Yeah, so those are costs. We have the community-based organizations for our UPK programs. That is the cost that goes above the grant. So those community-based organizations will charge you X, let's say 160,000 per program. We're only going to get 5,400 times the amount of kids in there. So that local share is what goes in here. Great job pointing that out, because remember, the governor talked about increasing that per pupil to 10,000. If that happens, we can kind of decrease that in the general fund budget, because it will almost be, if not fully funded, through the UPK grant. Unfortunately, we probably won't know that until, are we going to get an on-time budget before we even adopt one in April? So it's one of those things, if it comes out April 1st and we can reduce that to make it more actual, and that's something we'll look into. But great question. English, just a decrease there due to attrition and student needs due to consolidations. Health, so health is a little bit different. So it's very tricky here for health and physical education, because you have teachers that'll be doing a little bit of both. Mr. Lauf can attest, you're going to have like probably a 0.6 over here in PE and a 0.4 over here in health. So it's difficult. And do you want to budget a 0.6 and a 0.4? It just makes it more difficult, especially when staff move, which happens quite often. So it's just based on how budgeting is done and moving those costs between physical education and health. So there's no increase or decrease. The staffing is similar in those realms at this time, but it's just trying to make it a little bit more easy to budget for. I always find it funny. It's hard to budget 60% of your salary from code A and 40% from code B. So it's one of those things that we're trying to get a little more streamlined to make it a little easier to budget, not only to budget, but to also understand and analyze for future years to come. Instrumental music. Don't freak out. You're going to see a big decrease there, 89.46%. The way our staffing charts work is we don't break out our instrumental from our vocal, so it's just all music. So I couldn't even tell looking at the staffing charts which one is which. So it's just consolidating the codes and moving the 2164 into the 2165, and that's why you see a big increase there. Social studies, same thing as English, just a decrease there due to the consolidation and attrition. The unassigned, as we talked about, the 2199 is shifting the funds more to the 2110 code. Special education is always a hot topic, so 5.77% increase. That's heavily based on the private school program. So we have students that attend Mary Cariola, School of the Holy Childhood. So those are ever changing. And just the placements this year are higher than in past years. Don't be alarmed, because we do get private excess cost aid back on those children, but we won't see that until the following year. Let's see here. We'll skip that. We'll go to computer-assisted instruction. It's a big code, 2630 there. It's a 2.2% increase. That's just your basic increase in your BOCE services and your raises that are contractual. Health-related services, the 2015, as you know, we did look at the nurses mid-year, as you probably know. So there was an increase there. In addition, we also added a nurse to JA. So that's why that increase is a little bit more than the contractual raise that you see there. And interscholastic athletics, we got the event supervision up to a budget that we actually spend last year, or this year, I'm sorry, 25-26. So there's no increase in that because we're trying to monitor that. So the normal 3.52% increase is just due to your increases in your coaching staff and your athletic salaries. With that, I know I went through it kind of quick, but overall the instruction budget went up about 3.9%, which is pretty average when you think about rate of inflation, when you think about contractual raises for us and even in the county. So there's nothing that really stood out.
So if you're keeping score, trying to analyze this, in my mind, it's the code adjustments was we were seeing some significant increases or even decreases in codes because you're just rearranging the budget so it makes sense and we can analyze it in future years. There's also contractual obligations, whether it's for services that we get through BOCES or outside placements or our collective bargaining contracts, and then attrition through the consolidation, which we'll be continuing to talk about as we move forward. So that's the story of that.
That is it in a nutshell.
Is that three? I know you said it's evolving. Is that 3.9 a reasonable estimate of where this is going to land, or is it possible that it's significantly different from that?
Special ed is always changing. I just got an email actually today about a decrease in one area. Unfortunately, it's coded in the federal fund, so we're not going to see a savings there. But you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the next month. I'm sorry, what was that?
So it's already not 3.9 anymore.
No. So that decrease was actually going to help our budget, but because it actually doesn't run through the general fund, it runs through the special aid fund. There's no change there. So
no change.
I could get another 5 of those emails over the course of the next day, either increasing or decreasing.
Yeah.
So I would say. Again, I'm going
to
be a little more conservative. I would say right around that.
Right,
well,
it'll change.
Just as a matter of fact, over the weekend, he got information on pilots, right, and how that changes, and that will shift, and income earnings on interest that shifts, healthcare shifts, so it narrows down, but it's getting clearer and clearer each day, but it's still a little bit ways to go.
Absolutely. And we'll be presenting the revenue next board meeting, as Superintendent Provenzano said, in addition to the instructional budget, which you will see some changes to these numbers. Any other questions?
Made up time.
Next time.
I tried to go quick for you guys.
Next time. Revenue side.
Okay, everybody, no questions?
Thanks, Jeremy. Great job.
Thanks. Okay. I didn't expect that to go so fast. Nailed it. Okay. I need a motion to enter into executive session pertaining to matters that are listed on the agenda. Brian? Nicole? All in favor? Aye. If you are watching from home, we will just reconvene to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, that's tonight?
That's tonight.